Welcome to the In Between podcast. Today I am chatting with Gianni Bianco, a certified personal trainer and the founder of GB Wellness LLC, her personal training business, and She Girls Club, a health and fitness club here in Las Vegas. Gianni uses a psychological approach to fitness, which I love, with the belief that health stems from your mind and the body will follow. Gianni, welcome to the In Between podcast.
Hello, I am so excited to be here.
I am so excited. I don't even know how, obviously I love fitness too, so I stumbled upon one of your Instagrams probably about a year ago, and I've just been following you ever since. You're like one of my favorite, I'm going to call you an influencer. I don't know if you actually like that term.
But recently I've been hearing that term get thrown around, and it's so new, and it's like kind of cringy, but you're like, oh, it's also kind of flattering.
Yeah. I mean, we're all influencers in our own right, but
yeah.
I love that, you're from Vegas, you're obviously local, and like, I just love supporting other women who are just doing the things. And
yeah.
I want to start first with the foundation of everything you do, which is your own fitness journey. And I want to hear a little bit. I know you, from my research, started around 2017-ish, getting into the fitness industry for yourself. And then how did that translate into such a passion that you're like, I want to do this as a living?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in 2017, I was 17. So I was pretty young going into that world, and I had just started college. So I had gone to UNLV. I was going to school for psychology. Now, at this point, I was convinced that I was going to be a forensic psychologist. I was convinced that was the route that I was going. I loved criminal minds, so that was kind of where I was heading with that. But about, I would say, 2 months into being a freshman in college, I mean, you go into college and all you hear is like freshman 15, that you're going to be gaining weight, they expect you to be partying and all that kind of good stuff. And coming out of high school, like that's what I was doing. I was partying with my friends, doing the kind of norm. And then around October of 2017, it was a week before I was turning 18. So like around my birthday-ish, I was drinking with my friends, and I don't know if I can say that I was smoking weed, but I was at that time. And, I remember one night specifically, I was smoking in my bedroom by myself, and I had eaten, I'm not even kidding, a whole bag of hot Cheetos to myself, like a family-size bag, Cassidy. And this moment, while it seems like it's like this funny thing in the past, and it is, but I remember I got so sick, and I was like the rest of the night just like in the trenches over this moment. And I remember sitting on my bathroom floor and being like, what am I doing with my life? Like, where am I going if I keep doing things like this and I treat my body like this? And within maybe 20 minutes, I literally looked up on like my friends list, and I was like, who do I know that's a personal trainer? And let me reach out to them and see if I can kind of change my life around. And at that time, I didn't really know what that was going to turn into. But literally the next day, I woke up and I was like, I'm tired of feeling the way that I was, and I want to change my life. So I reached out to a trainer in Vegas, and it was honestly just a mutual friend that I went to high school with, because back then Instagram was so different and you couldn't really look up trainers. But that trainer did change my life. He changed the trajectory of my life for sure.
Wow, that's incredible. I think it's like those defining moments where you're like, something has to change. And I had a personal story in the sense that like I had a trainer that kept reaching out to me, and I was already working out, but I was doing like home workouts and like didn't really have a plan or a structure or a program that I was following. And she really got in my head, and she was like, this is going to change also how you run your business. And I was like, what does she mean? Like, what, I don't get it. And like now it's so crucial to how I run my business, right? Because it's like, if I'm showing up to the gym, if I'm taking care of myself, then I'm impacting what I'm doing in my business. And it all is like a circle that gets everything going. And so I think it's so important that like you also talk a lot about the psychological aspect, because that's essentially what that trainer was telling me, right? Is like, this is not going to just change your body, your energy levels. This is going to change your brain. Could you talk a little bit about where that came into play?
Yeah. So around this time, I was in my first year of college, And I didn't really know how I was going to tie the two with each other. And I didn't know that I wanted to be a trainer at that point. But when I was working with my first coach, he kind of had mentioned, and he was like, you know, you could go into the bodybuilding scene. Like, I think you would be really successful there. And at the time, looking back, I think that I was too young. I think that I wouldn't have done it at that young of an age. I think I needed more development. But it did really change the trajectory of my life and like how I viewed health and fitness. And I was in the bodybuilding world for about, I would say, 2 or 3 years following that. Now, in between preps and like phases of cutting and bulking and all this stuff, my mentality was either like, unfortunately, it was like I love my body or I hate my body. And I hated the cycle of the constant ups and downs. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why can't I just be satisfied? Like, why am I never just satisfied with where I was? And around 2020, everyone's favorite year, I kind of started to tie in the psychological approach to things. I was in my final, I want to say it was like my last year of undergrad. And this is when I learned about sports psychology. So this is when a professor had kind of introduced me into that. And for anyone that doesn't know, sports psychology is basically the psychological approach to fitness that helps an athlete reach optimal physical performance. So there was a way to study the research on psychology to make sure I was reaching a peak in performance levels or aesthetics or anything like that. So that was when I kind of dialed in on my niche, and I was like, this is something I want to commit to. And coming out of the bodybuilding space was a really hard decision for me. And once again, I think I was just so young that I just didn't know how much of a toll it was going to play on me. So that was when I kind of decided to tie the two together, because I was like, fitness shouldn't be this all or nothing kind of life surrounding thing. You know, it should just be something you're able to incorporate in your lifestyle versus it being all or nothing all the time.
Yeah. Well, in the bodybuilding side of things, if anyone has never really heard about that, I mean, you're really trying to cut as much as you can to the point where your diet is extremely restrictive, especially leading up to, you know, the show. And it can be for people very triggering in the sense of like cut, and now they want to eat anything and everything they can. And you see those videos of people just going in for the donuts and all these big meals. Yeah. And so obviously, and I think anyone in that industry will tell you, that's not sustainable, right? Like that is a certain type of an athlete that is focused on that goal. Yeah. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like that is not a lifestyle to maintain. That is a goal. You're trying to train for it, and then you move on. What are some of the mindset battles that you faced trying to then take this extreme lifestyle into more of a sustainable lifestyle that you could live every day while also battling like loving your body?
Yeah. So it's, you know, that's a loaded question for me, because I feel like that was such a big part of my life. You know, so during the time that I was competing, I will admit that I loved it. Like when I was in the prep phase, like I thought it was amazing. I felt like my mind was right, because you're so focused. And for someone that's type A, it's basically just checking things off of a to-do list for the day. So I really liked it. It was coming out of it that was really hard for me and kind of adjusting to the real world. But I was also battling with the fact that I was 18 and I was constantly saying no to hanging out with my friends, to family dinners on Sundays, to all of these things that I felt like other people were doing. So there was a lot of that, the social aspect of it, that I was battling with. But when coming out of my preps, I would gain a lot of weight in a short period of time. So during the time that I would gain weight, it was really hard to see yourself with a six-pack, and then 2 weeks later you don't look like that. And if you post a picture on Instagram or something, people would notice the differences. And although most people never said anything, you could feel that you looked different. You could feel that things were changing. And sometimes it's just hard to see yourself so lean and then no longer being that lean anymore. And also battling with, I want to be a trainer, but I don't look like one. So there was a lot of dynamics that definitely played a role with that.
Yeah. So when you say you were gaining weight, and this is just for my clarity only, like, were you actually gaining weight, or was it just that now you were eating a normal amount of calories, and it could have been water, it could have been all these other things?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, I mean, mindset wise, I feel like that would trigger anybody, because it's like, okay, well, now I'm eating 2,000 calories. Maybe I wasn't eating that for prep.
Yeah. So in the first prep, so I've done 3 preps. My first prep, I gained weight. And within the span of a week, I gained 18 pounds. And while it might have been water weight or whatever, it was very visible that I had gained 18 pounds. And that is not the proper way to reverse diet. It's not what my coach told me to do. It was something where I got so excited, and whatever I saw in front of me, I was like, I have to finish the plate. Like, it felt like I couldn't stop. And I would feel this sense of guilt of something as simple as if I ate the whole plate and like my best friend didn't eat all of her pasta, like there was a little left over, I would feel amount of guilt of the fact that I ate the whole thing, and I'm like, I could still eat more. So it was kind of uncontrollable for me, but as I had gone through numerous preps, I would reverse diet properly and I would experience weight gain, but it was not as severe as the first time.
I see. Yeah, because that's definitely a mindset trick of all of that happening within 2 weeks. You feeling, obviously your brain's like, I get this reward, like I did all of this hard work. And so where are you currently in your fitness journey?
Yeah, so I'm probably in the best spot that I've been in. Now, I don't define the best spot as being my most lean or being my strongest. I think that my body has gone through a lot of phases, and I'm very grateful for that. But my mentality towards where I'm at in my fitness journey is definitely my healthiest. I enjoy where I'm at. I'm able to have a piece of cake and not stress over it. I'm able to teach that to my clients and help them find that balance and be able to go out to eat with your husband and do all these things that you should be doing in your life without stressing over the numbers on the scale or if you hit your macros one day or anything like that.
Yeah. I think that's the most sustainable, but 2, the most enjoyable to fitness. And there's so many different ways and diets and trends and things that people works for them. But I think being able to like enjoy your Friday night and go out and eat and have a margarita if you want, or being able to fit it in where you don't feel this guilt if you have it. And then at the same time, you're not trying to binge it because you know you're allowed to have it. You know you're and in some points, like it might help your fitness journey to have a couple extra calories, right? Like that is 1, so empowering, and 2, that really is the mindset hack to like actually achieving and getting goals.
Yeah, it's the sustainability approach that really helps people find success. And although it might be slower success, it's still a success. And it's enjoyable. Like I feel like there's a notion around you have to be all or nothing, dialed in, David Goggins approach to see results. And while you do see results and it's great, it's just a different kind of approach. And it should be fun. Like fitness 100%. Should be fun.
No, it definitely should be. And I want to go into more of your business side now and the people that you work with, because you obviously used all these approaches personally, but I'm sure you use a lot of them on the day-to-day with your clients. And correct me if I'm wrong, you train both virtually and in person, correct?
I do, yes. Okay.
So I think those 2 are also very different. I trained virtually for like 3 years, and I didn't even think I'd met my trainer until like 2 years into it. Like she was just this little voice in my head, basically. So what are, obviously from what I know through Instagram, you're a fan of resistance training, weight training, and then do your clients mostly count macros, or how do they go about nutrition?
So they do. Now, in the beginning, when I first started my coaching business, I was giving out meal plans. I kind of refrain from giving out meal plans nowadays, mainly because of the fact of I want you to be able to find what you like to eat and we can create it together. So normally if a client wants a meal plan, I'll have them write to me like their 5 favorite foods, and then we can kind of create it together, versus you have to eat chicken and rice and stick to these numbers. But I really want it to be collaborative in the process of finding what feels like the right amount of food for you and how whatever approach is going to help you hit your goal. Okay.
Awesome. I tracked macros for the 3 years that I was with my trainer, and I loved it. And it's interesting because now I'm coming out of it. So I did like a year where I was like, okay, I'm not going to track macros. And it's just so eye-opening because I'm someone who I will just not eat. I'm just like, no, I like forget about it. And so I'll go through phases where I'm like, hey, I'm going to track for a week and just see like when I'm actually focused on food, am I hitting the protein I want? Am I hitting, you know, the carbs and all of those things? And it definitely, like, I know that there are people who it's tough for them and it's not right. But if you're using it as an educational tool, I kind of look at it as like blood work, right? Like you get your blood done, your doctor sees your numbers and you're like, okay, here's your improvements. And that's how I view macros now that I know how to utilize the tool. And so it's a tool in your toolbox. It's not going to be for everyone. Could you just explain a little bit about what macro tracking is in case someone's like, what are you talking about? This is a different language.
Yeah. So macro tracking is short for your macronutrients. So your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. And to put this in the simplest terms, basically those 3 macronutrients create your total caloric intake for the day. So however many calories you should be eating throughout the day. Now, with macros, it can be definitely confusing to start to track it because now with social media, you find so many answers to so many things. But the diet that is going to work best for you is the one that you can actually stick to and enjoy sticking to it. So when it comes to a macro-based approach, if I have a client with a history of an eating disorder, we will not have them track food. And mainly just because it can be slightly triggering for them, and that's not the point of this. The point is to meet them where they're at and to find out what they can benefit from the most. Yeah,
that's so important. I think also something to talk about is there are people who post about their macros or even just do like macro recipes. So you have specific numbers for you. And so if you are looking online and you're like, oh, I found this girl and she's doing these macros, I'm going to follow her. I caution you to, there are macro calculators. I just personally like to work with a person because even, I mean, it goes down to your activity levels. And so if you are looking for your macros, make sure you're reaching out to a professional that actually can calculate that for you.
Yeah, and that's really important for people to know because they can look at someone who doesn't have their build at all and say, I want their macros, that's how much they're eating, and I'm going to eat it, you know? But it comes down to, once again, the amount of activity that you have, the amount of sleep that you have, also your starting point on the actual food that you're eating. Like if you're not eating enough food, you might even have to reverse diet, which is slightly increasing your calories versus the opposite. And I find that a lot of people do come to me and they say, I've been eating 1,200 calories for 3 years. You know, they've lost their period, they have low energy levels, their estrogen's low, like all of these factors that play a role that a lot of people aren't really talking about. That's why it's so important to talk with a professional and ask them, what are your thoughts on this and where's my plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in the beginning of the conversation when you were talking about bodybuilding, you mentioned bulking and cutting. You can actually do those through macros, even if you're not doing a bodybuilding competition. So that was something that I worked with my trainer when we built a lot of muscle to cut back. And it's so dependent on your goals, on how much activity you're getting. And so don't just go and find macros and take them. Reach out to someone like Gianni who's a professional in it and can actually calculate it specific to you because then you're just going to get the best goals.
Yeah. I completely agree with that.
Best results. So I want to move over to your newest venture, which is the She Girls Club community, which I'm so excited about because these communities are popping up all over. I feel like the run clubs really started it.
Yeah.
But it's such a healthy way to get out, meet new people, stay active, try things that maybe you weren't necessarily wanting to try. Like that's what I did with Run Club. I'm like, I'm just going to go run and like no one's going to look at me. What inspired you to branch out and start a community?
Yeah, so there was a few things that had inspired that. So then I was a trainer before then, and I was very nervous in community settings. Like I was very uncomfortable with it. I like attending them, but I was like, I don't love to host them. I work with a brand called First Form, and they were very much encouraging me to bring in the community aspect of fitness to my town. So at the point of last year, I believe it was like 2020, what year are we in? 2025, 2024, in May-ish, I had my first group event. And at the time, it wasn't called She Club. It was just a group workout. Come if you want to come. And I got a really great amount of responses that were positive from that event. And it seemed like people really enjoyed it. The energy was good. And I was like, oh, maybe I could do this a little more often. And then I had gotten in contact with Grace Run Club here in Vegas. And for anyone who doesn't know Grace, it's ran by Haley Fuentes. And Haley is just amazing. And she is so sweet, so welcoming. And she's someone that I had actually gone to middle school with. So I had kind of picked her brain about Grace Run Club, and I honestly just felt really inspired by the community that she built, and she's built it from the ground up, and it's done amazing things. And that was what inspired me to kind of rebrand my community events and create She Club, which is now, I wouldn't say it's like explosively taking off, but it's doing pretty good. So that's exciting.
I love it. And so yours is more focused on like lifting, exercises, correct? It's not, obviously it's not a run club.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's so different. Well, that's just so different because I'm like, I only see run clubs and you're changing it up and you're like, well, let's lift together.
Yeah. So we typically host at least one outdoor event and then at least one indoor event a month. And where She came from, it's actually an acronym that stands for Support, Honor, and Empower. And I've noticed that although it's focused on women and empowering women, we've been getting a lot of inquiries for men to join in. So I'm like, how do I'm like, I don't really know which direction I want to take that yet.
Yeah, boyfriend's going to have to take over the man side.
You know, he always comes to my group events too. And I'm like, we do have one man and it's my boyfriend. He's my videographer today. So... But maybe down the line we'll venture into more men. But I do really feel like having it only women makes women feel really safe and comfortable in that setting. And I don't want to take that away.
Especially with lifting, because I feel like that's something people are always scared of is like the gym. And the women are like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. And then it's like, obviously the gym has been this male place forever. And now obviously it's great. Women are coming into it. But to have a space where you're like, nope, this is a girls only class. You can make a mistake. You can try. There's also people here to help you. Like that's empowering is the perfect word. Yeah. So talk about that first event. Were you like nervous no one was going to come? Like,
oh my goodness.
When you launched it?
So nervous. And it wasn't even like nervous that people weren't going to come. It was more so like, what am I going to say? Like, what's my introduction? Like, what if they don't have fun? And there's also an aspect of you really want to make everyone feel seen and like heard and comfortable. So it's like a consistent level of eye contact, introducing yourself, making them say their name and referring back with their name, like letting everyone feel seen and heard was really important to me. So I think I was just very nervous going into it, but it definitely has gotten easier like as I do it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like the more you do something, I feel like the better it is. And you are really trying to build a community. So now you recognize people who are coming to your events, even if they're not your clients, and you're building connection and community with them. Yeah, it is really great. Oh my gosh. I have to come to one now. I've been hearing about them and I'm like, haven't been available. So now I need to make sure I come.
Well, now I'm going to hold you to it.
Yeah. Now you're going to be like, where are you? What has your community that you've built now, what have they taught you?
That's a great question. You know, so not only the She Club group, but just my clients in general, like I feel like they believe that I'm a part of their journey and, you know, I've helped them on their fitness journey, but my clients really shape my journey. So like I learn just as much from you guys as you guys are learning from me. And I want it to be a collaborative experience where we can take something away from each other. And because at the end of the day, like, yes, I can give you all these tools, but I hope that one day you learn how to do this on your own. Yeah. You know, I want to see you flourish. And so I guess what I've really, you know, that is a hard question, Cassidy, that I really have to think about. But overall, like, I guess I've learned to really put myself out there in a sense that someone can take something from me. I think that there is a sense of imposter syndrome, like with this kind of world. And sometimes I'm leading a workout and I'm like, oh my goodness, am I even qualified to lead this workout? Like, do I look fit enough to lead this? But I really just try to give myself some grace in the sense of like, people came here because they do find this useful, like they do enjoy this, and I just have to remind myself of that.
Yeah. And I don't think the goal is like to be the trainer, to be the fittest person in the room. That gives you the credentials, right? Like, obviously that's, your body is part of what people are looking at, but I also don't think that's the most important thing, because obviously as females we go through all sorts of body changes, but it's more like, okay, is she practicing what she preaches? Is she doing the things that are hard for me? And it's like, oh yeah, she is being consistent, she is doing these things. If she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I think that's the importance of, like, I went through the fitness journey and I was basically solo because I was virtual with my trainer and I wasn't doing group coaching. It was like one-on-one. And I think the importance of having a community behind you, even if you are going through it solo, is just that, right? Is like, if other people can maintain these macros, if they can maintain going to the gym or getting steps or whatever the goal is, I can do it too.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really important, that clients find a sense of relatability. And even if they're not clients, someone that finds a sense of relatability, because there's someone out there that has a very similar story to you, a very similar background, that they aspire to be, versus just feeling inspired by someone, but like, I aspire to be like that person.
Yeah. It's something I always think about it in the gym, because I'm like, I'll have days where I'm working out, or like you catch yourself in the horrible EOS gym mirrors that are distorted. I think it's the mirrors. I'm hoping it's the mirrors. But I'll catch myself and I'm like, oh my God, like I've been working on this forever and I don't see the result, or I still have cellulite, all these stupid things that all of us think.
Yes.
And I have to like catch myself, because I'm like, okay, well, the girl that I'm staring at in the gym is having those same thoughts, and someone's staring at me saying like, man, I wish I looked like that. Like, man, I did all those things. And so it's a constant internal battle and thought. And like, I really, for myself, try to just like shut it off and be like, okay, I'm here to move for my mind, or I'm here to move so I have energy tomorrow. Exactly. Because if you get into the any body conversation about it with yourself, you're going to battle it forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of where that psychological approach comes into play. Like, that's, the mind and the body are so intertwined that it's incredible to me that psychology has just arisen in the past like 50 years. Yeah. Like, it's just beyond me, but it plays such a huge role in how we view ourselves, how we expend our energy, and how we feel. You know, it's so important to feel good rather than to just look in the mirror and be like, oh, I have a six-pack. But like, how are you actually feeling? Like, are you here mentally today? You know?
Well, and that goes with consumption, right? Because people are consuming all day on social media, where they're telling them, here's how you get your six-pack. Here's how you look like this for the beach. Here's how you do this and that. And it's like, those parts are so minuscule to what is actually important about your fitness journey.
Absolutely. And I feel like we are starting to look over the basics that help us get results, which are getting adequate sunlight, you know, moving your body for at least 30 minutes, whether that's a walk outside, whether that's 10K steps as a whole, you know, but getting adequate sunlight, moving our bodies in a way that we enjoy, getting enough sleep, and giving yourself grace in the fact of, a lot of people don't love resistance training, and that's okay. Any form of exercise is okay, but all of these things combined really do help your mind, therefore help your body down the line.
Yeah. Are there any like specific tangible tips that you could give us on the mindset side for maybe someone who is working out, maybe they're not seeing results, maybe they are doing all the things and they're getting burnt out and frustrated? What are some of the mindset tools that you utilize with your clients to get them to see it in a different way? Yeah,
so I would say there's a few things. So it goes back to those basic staples. So I would think getting adequate sunlight during the day. So waking up, and truthfully, if you could get outside first thing in the morning and go for a walk, you're already winning the day. That's a great thing to start your day. Second off, finding a form of movement that you like. Now, just because people are doing resistance training or people are going and doing half marathons does not mean that you have to do that as well. Find a form of movement that you actually like, that you can stay consistent with, and just stick with it. And then number 3, I would say eating for fuel rather than sometimes eating for calories. And I know that's kind of backwards in terms of if you want to lose weight or you want to bulk up, things like that. But fueling your body properly with whole-based foods is an absolute game changer just for your mental clarity and your physical clarity as well.
Yeah. And the macros, it's really helpful for the times that you want to use the calories. I remember when I was training for my half marathon, I would like program in and out for that day because I was like, I'm going to run 12 miles. I deserve it. But I would still program it and I would be able to hit my macros, right? Yeah. Now that's not necessarily whole foods, like the best way to go about it. Yeah. But on those days where you're like, I need this, I'm craving it, the macro way of dieting really is helpful in that sense. And so I do want to mention that because it is something that I've, as a picky person, really has helped me. But I've noticed that since I've gotten out of the macro part, like the whole foods, I've been really more specific of trying to choose like, okay, I'm hungry right now. I had prepared some ground beef. Let me just eat ground beef in the middle of the day and not choose a protein bar, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely a give and take with that, right? So, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I eat all whole foods every day, all day. That's just
I feel like America,
realistic.
That's just not possible.
It's just like not possible. And also, like, I want to enjoy some things sometimes. But I, like, coming from a place where I grew up eating consistent junk food. Like, I did not ever eat healthy. I had no idea what a calorie was, and I completely changed the way that I ate because I was also picky. And now I'm at the point where you do feel different when you start adding in real food, but your mind feels good when you allow yourself to have those treats as well.
Yeah. And when you focus on how you feel when you eat the good things, and then you focus when you, not even accidentally, even on purpose, have ice cream like I did last night. I'm like, my stomach doesn't feel good. But my brain was so happy. My spirit so happy. So it was worth it, right? So it's like having those boundaries and those conversations with yourself of like, okay, this isn't going to be great for me every single night, but like tonight I needed it. It helped me with my happiness. Then it's worth it. I know from my own personal experience that I've had so many in-betweens in the fitness journey. There's times where you just don't want to do it. And, you know, if you're not, we can go all over the motivation versus being driven conversation. But like, what advice do you give to your clients if they come to you and they're just like, they're in the in-between. They're like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. It's not a priority. Why should I keep doing it? Like, they're just stuck, whether it's a weight goal or something else, or they're just burned out from life stuff. Like, how do you deal with those? I mean, the balance and the ebb and flow of life. Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to my clients' health, I'm not going to sit there and plead on why they need to continue personal training. My goal isn't to make them come back to me. My goal is for them to get through this phase of life as comfortably as they can. So sometimes if a client is not in the right headspace, I'll literally say, if you need to take some time off, I'll check in on you and let's come back in a month. You know, like whatever you need to do to get to where you need to be, I think is important. But I do also think there is a point where we have to be realistic with where we want to be in our life and the steps that you are taking to get there. Now, as long as you are being honest and truthful with yourself, I think that the end goal is always possible, but there has to be a sense of accountability on what you're doing today is not going to get you to where you want to be tomorrow, and something has to change. So what can I do to help in that process is all I can do is support you. Yeah. And I think that's important to note because you are going to have lifestyle changes. You are going to have things that happen, and you have to be able to be flexible. And I think it goes back to the habits, and I'd love for you to speak on this too, because it's interesting. I am like, which it sounds like you're a type A girly too. I'm a type A girly. So when my trainer gave me the to-do list, I was like, done. Don't even worry about it. Like I had my 10K steps, my workout, my calories by 8 a.m. I was done. I'm like, see? So now I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's getting a little harder to be like, 5 a.m. going to the gym, right? Like I'm just in a phase and I'm working on my hormones and stuff where I need extra sleep. And I would get so upset with myself if I had to do like a 2 or 3 p.m. workout. And I had to have this conversation, like, why am I not successful if I do it at 2? Like, I still did it, right?
Yeah.
And it's been having this conversation of like, okay, my body needs more rest. Waking up at 6, 5 is not as easy as it once was. Yeah. My lifestyle still is that I get movement. So whether that's at 6 p.m. or 2 p.m., I need to be flexible to just enter this new phase of what I'm needing and what my body is asking me for. Yeah. And I think that's something where people often, when they go through that, they just stop entirely. And they're like, well, if I couldn't get it in. Now, I'm lucky, right? I have a virtual business. I'm a business owner. As you are, like, I have a little bit more flexibility when I can fit that in. I understand that. But it was really hard for me to make the choice to still go, because it's very easy. If I've been going in the morning for 3 years and then one day I'm like, I'm going to sleep in, it's much easier to keep choosing that. Yeah. I have to consciously be like, okay, no, like, if I didn't go in the morning, now I'm going at 3. And that I don't think people talk about enough, because that's where people stop. And they just like, oh, well, then I won't do it, versus adjusting to how we feel and just going with the flow.
Absolutely. And like you said, there's different phases of your life that you're going to go through. Your hormones are going to change tremendously from the age you're 16 to 25. You are a completely different person of when you were a teenager. And I find that a lot of us women compare our best selves to when we were a teenager. Yeah. And at that point, your hormones are changing drastically. I could rage all day and all night at 17 years old, but I'm in bed by 7 p.m. now. It's completely different. So I think that, once again, like, giving yourself grace on those ebbs and flows of your life and finding a new balance for you at the age of 26 versus when you were 23. Things are just different. And I think it goes back to that enjoyment. Like, what do you like to do now, you know? Yeah. And when it comes to that 5 a.m. versus the 2 p.m., you are still getting movement, but you're honest with yourself about, okay, I'm not just going to say, screw it, I'm not going to go at all, because I owe that to myself to do a form of movement today.
Yeah. And that goes for you deciding truly what's important to you. Like, if that's a non-negotiable, you're going to make it a non-negotiable. And for me, that's non-negotiable. So I think it's really looking at your goals as a whole of like, okay, what are the priorities and what are the things that you need to get in? And for me, like, sometimes I don't get 10K steps in, and that's okay. And I make sure I hit all my workouts and I feel really good. And I think you can achieve one goal and have to adjust it. As long as you know your non-negotiables, you're still going to be okay. Nothing's going to change. Because I think that's what I feared so much, was like, because I'm type A, I'm changing this routine, even by not like tracking macros all the time. I'm like, I'm going to lose all my results. And my trainer's like, no, you're not. Calm down. Yeah. you're going to be fine.
Good. Yeah. And I had gone to therapy from the years of 2021 to probably 2023-ish. And for anyone that is on the brink of going to therapy, best thing ever. Like, it does change your life. 100%. I think that everyone can benefit from therapy. And one thing that my therapist said to me, and it's going to sound so cliche, but when you're in it and things feel tough or things feel crazy, she always would say, like, and that's not the worst thing in the world. And she would always say in that uplifting tone. And that always would bring me back to reality of, okay, it really isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, everything's actually okay.
We're fine. Yeah, I love that. That is like, so... We'll live. Yeah. It's just like, it shifts in your perspective totally. And it's like the example we gave before of like, you can have your ice cream and the next day you can get up and go back to your normal routine and everything's fine. We don't need to go have ice cream for the rest of the week, right? Like, it's always a give and take of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And if you've established a really healthy routine, it's easier actually to get back into it versus fall back on the wayside. Yeah. What advice would you give someone who is currently in an in-between space in their life?
I think that learning to say no is very powerful. So I think a lot of the times we are often taught to be the yes man and say yes to all of these things in our life. But I think that saying no has a lot of power, and saying no as in maybe you're setting a boundary with someone that isn't benefiting your life or pushing things forward, or saying no to things that don't align with what your beliefs are or what your goals are or things like that, and not feeling that guilt of saying no. I think that it's important to keep your mind focused and give yourself some grace on those off days, because we're all going through it. You know, we're all in the in-between. But I think that staying aligned with your goals, staying true to what you want to do, and saying no to things that no longer serve you is really important.
I love that answer. It's so true. It's the power of no. It's a full sentence.
Yeah.
Well, Gianni, thank you so much for joining me on the In Between podcast. I'm so excited we finally got to connect kind of in person, virtually in person, but off the gram.
Yeah.
I would love for you to share all your things if people are interested in coaching with you, because I know you do it virtually, so they don't have to be in Vegas. And then if you're in Vegas, I would love for you to share about your next event for She Girls Club in case someone wants to join you.
Yes. So you can find me on pretty much all socials. I am at _Gianni Bianco for Instagram, all that kind of good stuff. I do accept online clients at the moment. I'm no longer taking in-person for one-on-ones, unfortunately. Fully booked on that end, but we are taking online clients. And my next She Club event is actually this Saturday. It's August 30th. But the next one will be the last Saturday of September, whatever day that is.
Awesome. And then where can we follow you to learn more about those events?
she.clublv on Instagram.
Love it. And we will put all the links in the show notes so that you guys can give her a follow and connect with Gianni. Thank you so much for joining the In Between podcast, and we'll catch you later.